Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Secure Talk. Secure Talk is brought to you by Adequest, your cybersecurity and compliance partner. My name is Mark Schreiner, and I'll be your host for this episode of Secure Talk. Today, I'm being joined by the CEO of WhiteCanyon Software, Mr. Paul Katzoff. Paul, how are you doing today?
Very good, Mark. How's it going today for you?
Pretty good, pretty good. It says here that you are based down in American Fork, Utah. Is that correct?
We are about 45 minutes south of Salt Lake City.
Tell me what that's about, because I hear that there's a lot of IT companies that are moving to or starting up in that area. And there's even a nickname, Silicon Slopes. Is that correct?
Right. That's right. I think the Silicon kind of nomener, is going all across the U.S. for different areas. I think Chicago's got their own one, a couple other places. But ours is Silicon Slopes. We have really boomed probably the last 8 years. Our company's been here in Utah for 22 years, but the last 8 years, we have seen a major influx. First, it was, WordPerfect and Novell were here, and then Symantec moved in. Adobe moved in a giant office up the road from us, and from there, it's just taken off. Service providers come in, Microsoft, the other big players have rolled into town, Cisco as well. And not to mention Facebook opened their data center just on the other side of the lake from us. So it's really catching on out here. It's been quite impressive on our side to see this growth.
What seems to be the major drivers? Obviously, companies moving in, but what's the impetus for them coming in? Is it the high quality universities in the area? Is it the lower cost of living? I mean, what do you see it as?
I think it's threefold. I think you get these great universities here that are training up potential employees. You got a low cost of living, so you can come in and hire great employees at a great price or great cost, I guess. And at the same time, there's not a lot of competition. So house prices, commercial rents, all that's pretty low. So they on their side, they can build a giant campus, have it be filled with thousands of employees at a much lower cost than, San Francisco and some other places. So I think that's probably a key motivator on their side is just the human resources that are here. And then, like you said, the cost of living is very low here.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're almost describing the Seattle or Pacific Northwest area back in the late 80s, early 90s. That time, yes. We were a one-shop town, and it was basically Boeing that was driving everything, and then Microsoft, and the rest is history. And we can no longer claim the low cost of living or any of the other advantages that you're talking about. Well, we've got some good universities, but anyway, so let's talk a little bit about your background and then WhiteCanyon Software, because your two histories are pretty much intertwined. So why don't you start with yourself, and then we'll lead into WhiteCanyon.
Yeah, so I have my undergraduate from BYU, Hawaii. I went on and got my MBA at Utah State. I tried law school for a very expensive semester and tried a PhD in entrepreneurship for another quite pricey semester as well. And at that time I said, I'm going to go into the workforce. I'm tired of school. I'd rather work 40 hours a week than take one more test or read one more textbook. So looking at the workforce and where to go into, I looked at technology and I said, computers is the future. And there's a quote by the Skunkworks, the leader of Skunkworks, which is maybe I'm wrong, the leader of Skunkworks, maybe I shouldn't say that part, but there's a quote out there that says, the interests of men run in a river. And if you go where that river is, it'll be deep. And therefore, there's lots of value there, or a lot to do there. And I saw computers back in 06, 04. They were big already. Computers have always been big the last 15, 20 years. But looking at it, I was like, that's the future. Everything's going to be, tech related or involved with technology and computers. That's where I want to go into. So I I got my own decided I need to learn how to code a little bit or understand computers. So I got a domain from One, and I started coding with HTML Kit and just kind of got an understanding of how to code up websites. And that actually got me my job here at WhiteCanyon Software way back 12 years ago.
Well, that's excellent. And I mean, congrats for you for spotting a trend that continues to kind of steamroll the whole planet. I mean, like you said,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what industry you're in. You know, you could be a plumber or a roofer. It doesn't matter. You need technology for your, appointment setting, your inventory, your billing, et cetera. And so we're all kind of dependent and are lucky to have it there that we help us with our business. But so then what brought you to White Canyon?
I ended up here in Utah back then, about 12 years ago, and I was looking for any sort of job or anything on the tech space. And I bumped into WhiteCanyon Software. We were down in Orem at the time, and we were actually one of Utah's original software companies. We started back in 1998 down in southern Utah, and we're actually named after a canyon down there called White Canyon. So that's where the name of our company comes from. And I bumped into him. On Craigslist, I saw an ad for a position, and I applied for it, interviewed, and I liked, right off the bat, I could tell I liked the culture. We had a significant amount of sales through our website and through retail channels, which were really big back then for software. And I just liked the look and feel of it. It was a small company. I'd say there's probably 6 or 7 at the time. And it was just fun to get on board and kind of apply what I've learned on technology and my MBA, apply it to the company and help and watch us grow over those years.
That's excellent. You must have done extremely well because now you're the CEO.
I managed to make it there. As the years go by, I don't think I ever really had that goal. As one day I'd love to become a CEO. One day I'd like to get there. I have my MBA. I'd like to put that to use. Here at White Canyon, I moved up from, to the management position for tech support. We then took on our enterprise support kind of role to help that as that grew. And then we evolved into an enterprise data erasure firm. And I was managing the support side of that. After a while, as everything does, it got kind of dull for me. And they came to me and said, hey, you're technical. We'd like you on the sales side. And I I had some reservations. I've always felt as salespeople as kind of slimy, kind of untrustworthy. And that's not really, my kind of forte. I'm pretty much a straight shooter and pretty honest with things. And they said, well, come on, try it. And finally I did, and I loved it. Technology sales is so much different than any other type of sales out there. I don't know any other type of sales out there, but it's a consultative sale. You're providing knowledge, you're providing expertise, you're helping someone come on board with something they know nothing about, help them get it implemented, and you're kind of solving a problem for them. And I really love that. It really kind of meshed with coming from the support side into sales that, we're here to kind of help you guys be successful and not just, get your dollar and I'll never talk to you again. We have to keep talking to you every day for years after that. So it was a good transition. I really liked it. From there, I moved into the management role, sales manager, VP of sales, things like that. And long history short, I left White Canyon for a few years, pursued sales at some other tech companies, and they had a leadership change here at White Canyon. And they said, hey, Paul, you were with us for 8+ years. You have an MBA. We'd love you to come back. And I don't think anyone says no to that offer. I think everyone says, you bet. All right, let's talk. Let's work something out. And came back 3 years ago and took over the role about 2.5 years ago.
That's awesome. It's interesting because, a lot of people do have that impression of salespeople that you're out there trying to do something kind of shifty or shady. But the best salespeople, in my experience, and I come from most of my career has been in the business development and sales side. The best ones are people like what you described, where you're out solving problems. And if you can solve somebody's problem, or you can help them, or you at least be honest with them about the fact that, hey, here's what I can do, here's what I can't do, the door will always be open for you, and you'll be able to develop that relationship. And when you do solve problems, I mean, people, they just like you. They're like, hey, come back anytime. So it's very rewarding. And a big part of that though is having a good product or service to sell. And I've sold a variety of different solutions, and when you have something that you 100% believe in, and you're passionate about that, it's so much easier to go out to the market and to get buy-in from that. You obviously must have something at White Canyon that resonates with with the marketplace. Tell me a little bit about your services or your solutions that seem kind of like top of mind or really doing well in the market right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our main flagship tool is called WhiteDrive. It's a software-based erasure tool for any IT assets. So laptops, desktops, servers, mobile devices, any device out there that has storage or media, we can erase it. And what I love about WhiteDrive and our company is data erasure is a little niche. It's nothing new. Data erasure has been used on tapes going back for years, floppy diskettes, the 3.5 inch, 5 1/4 floppy diskettes. It's nothing new. But what I love in this little niche is there's probably 2 or 3 big players in this niche, and then there's a bunch of free tools, and that's about it. And so when we're in this little niche that we're at, we get these calls from large Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies that are looking for data erasure, and we pop up on the map. And it is so impressive to me to work with these large companies. I can't, mention most of them on this podcast or this discussion, but it is so great to work with a corporation that has 50, 60,000 employees. They need to erase, 250,000 IT assets a year globally. They need to deploy it. And they come to us and say, hey, we did our research. You're one of 2 or 3 out there. How do we do this? We want to do a bake-off with you. And it's so much fun. There's many companies out there you can work for and never even touch the Fortune 1000 as a client. And I love that here we bump elbows with players that would make anyone else jealous in the industry or tech industry. We can't drop names because it's part of our part of our licensing. But if we did, they'd all be very impressed with who we play with. And that's the fun part, is when you're really helping these large corporations solve problems. And yeah, we're a little kind of a niche tool. At the same time, we're important to their IT lifecycle process. And for me, I love that kind of connection and relationships.
Well, before we go, much deeper in terms of your actual solutions and how they work, maybe you can explain the importance of data erasure in the context of security and compliance.
Sure. Right off the bat, the biggest change, we've seen a major change and shift and focus on data erasure over the last 8 years. The biggest driver behind this is regulation. So you have HIPAA, which came out with financial penalties for having private health information, or PHI, get out. And so healthcare organizations, third parties that touch that data, they were all then liable. And they all said, hey, we need a solution to prove that our data has been erased, or it can't get out into the wild. Because for every record, it was roughly a $50,000 cost for each record that got out, or it was part of a data breach. And so a focus began from the top down, from the C-suite down, saying, hey, how does this data protected? And from that, it evolved into a number of other regulations coming out. The most recent is GDPR out in the EU. And on our side, we have a California data privacy law. Every state has data privacy laws now, and a federal data privacy laws in committee. And it may not be as tough as GDPR, which is renowned for its penalty level. I think it's 3% of revenue is your max penalty amount for data breaches. There's some other breakdowns from that as well. But what that created is it created a need to make sure that data is managed properly. And we have discussions today about Facebook and how your data is shared. That's part of it, but also the data breach side is your data getting out there and being used for nefarious purposes, which is a huge business, a huge black market opportunity, and and it's happening every day. And so with this focus has come interest in tools that help protect companies, and that's where we stepped in with WhiteDrive. Not really stepped in. We have always been here. We were more on the consumer side and the retail side, but the enterprise started calling us up and saying, "Hey, we need you to do this X, Y, and Z." And we started working on those features and those components in order to provide those deployments. And as we started, matching the deployments for one Fortune 100 company, all of a sudden it matched the deployments for others. And so our tools started to roll out there and be used for this end of life cycle data erasure, and to remove on the more kind of basic level, erase that computer or device and provide a report of that erasure. So on this date and time, before this laptop left your facility, all the data was removed. Therefore, later on, if there's a data breach or someone claims that this laptop had data or this IT asset had data, you can go back to your records and say, no, we erase it on this date and time. We use industry best, practices on it. And we are not liable for the data. If there is data on this, or there should be no data on this device, is kind of where that demand has come from.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about how data is an asset, but it can flip on you and also be a liability in terms of a potential breach. Absolutely. or some of these regulatory bodies and the fines, reputational damage, et cetera, that you could incur if you don't protect or get rid of that data. So how... I was under the impression like the only way to really wipe a machine is like to take the hard drive out and physically destroy it. All right. So but what you're telling me, there's another way to do that. So how does it work?
So all these drive manufacturers out there, first off, they are the ones that created these disks and these SSDs. So they have the ability to access all the data storage on these devices. So what happened is the industry said, hey, we need to provide a data erasure mechanism. So each drive manufacturer out there went through and tried and became compliant. They're called ATA commands, which is the ability to access all the areas on these drives and erase them, and then provide a verification as well that all those areas are erased. So those were the mechanisms that came into play because of demand. Going back in time, we've always been able to access a lot of different areas of the drive. We've worked to access other areas as they've popped up. HPAs and DCOs popped up, and we had to provide compatibility for those as well. So as this ability to reach every sector, every byte and bit on a drive became required, these industry specifications helped us to reach that. But there's a lot on our side that we have to do as well, because technology is always changing. You have new TPM chips coming out. You have Apple providing some additional small unit storage on their devices that you need to get access to as well. So it's a cat and mouse game on our side. The industry focus on it has been from the start. Data or physical destruction is, first off, bad for the environment. It pretty much gets rid of your storage immediately, so you can't resell it or donate it or be used for any other purposes. And my example of that is, imagine if every 3 years my Toyota Tundra got shredded. Right. That's a huge loss. And that can add up quite a bit. A lot of these organizations have tens of thousands of drives that could be physically destroyed every year. And you're looking at a $10, $20, maybe $40 resale value. And that amount can kind of help a company's IT budget as well to buy new devices and new systems.
Sure. Well, explain how your solution works, like, for example, in the different scenarios. Like, I've got an individual device that would seem to be pretty straightforward. But what if I have, if I, like one of these large organizations that you mentioned, maybe I have thousands of devices and maybe I don't have physical access to them. Can I do it remotely?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of different deployments. Remote is one of them. That actually doesn't come up as often as you think. I think most organizations are very careful about erasing devices remotely, just because they have to ensure it's the correct device. They have to ensure, they're not erasing, destroying something that's actually very important. So remote erasure doesn't come up that often. We do have a couple organizations that have like 1,200 different shops with 2 or 3 computers at each shop. And every year they need to erase those 2 or 3 computers. And so they've set up a system to adequately address those devices, erase them, and provide that report back into their system. The most common method actually is Pixie deployment or PXE deployment. And that's where you set up a workbench or a work area and you Pixie boot all these laptops and desktops from the WipeDrive Pixie server. And so you're able to erase 50, 100, 200 computers simultaneously and get those reports back. And we see that a lot in the refurbisher side. A lot of these large global organizations do that before they return systems to their leaser. They'll have everything shipped to a warehouse, process them on site, and then provide them back to their leaser. So those are our major deployments. But yeah, I mean, USB, CD, occasionally CD bootables as well. And then we can also install onto Windows and restart that computer into our erasure program as well. So there's a couple different ways we've seen these large organizations use us.
What about BYO devices? Bring your own devices. A lot of organizations, they say, hey, go ahead and you can access some of the company apps, some of the company data on your devices. Many of those organizations will have some type of solution, some type of MDM solution that will allow them to, restrict what company assets can be downloaded or accessed via the personally owned device. And then if that device is lost or if the person separates from the organization, they have a way to do a remote wipe of company assets. Do you get into that area at all?
Absolutely. BYOD is a big headache. I mean, securely erasing these devices that, your employees are using to access your data or store your data is a huge area. And then remote work has built onto that, where all of a sudden your data may be being accessed through a VPN, but it's saved to someone's laptop that they leave on their couch that a neighbor can come over and access, or maybe their Wi-Fi isn't protected, so someone else can jump on their Wi-Fi and access the data on their computers that is your company's data. So there's, on this BYOD and remote work area, there's lots of kind of concerns on the data protection, data security policies that isn't been addressed yet and probably won't be addressed for another 6 to 9 months as companies try to grasp, how do you manage where this data goes to, who can open it, is there passwords, what if your employee sells that laptop, did they erase it before they sold it? There's a whole area there where it's just gone from BYOD to any remote work appliance or device, and I don't think it's adequately being addressed yet. And I think chief data officers out there are taking a deep breath in, going, okay, we need to start addressing this. How do we do it? And that's going to be the next, change.
Do any of your solutions then have the ability to, wipe a certain segment of the disk or corporate assets, for example, versus personal assets? So, if I had my phone and you said, hey, Mark, we're going to wipe all the company data, is there a way that you can do that without touching the person's data, or is that something that's being developed?
So on phones, it's relatively simple because most of your data is stored in the cloud, so we can erase it and then restore it back to factory resets, and like Apple will upload your information back onto that. That's fairly simple and well done. On the laptop side or personal computer side, that's more cumbersome. We did have a data file erasure tool and a free space erasure tool, but with SSDs and the way the SSDs work, we saw that the Secure Clean tool, which was what our tool was actually, in order for it to run, you'd have to erase the whole SSD almost every night in order to get all the parts of files. And that was causing a lot of wear on drives. So we kind of stepped away from that and said, hey, that's a little too dangerous to get into. We can do data erasure on, hard drives. That's not a big deal. And specific file erasure, that's definitely possible. But overall, we said, let's just kind of focus down on the secure erasure of laptops, computers, drives, the full data, and then not worry about those kind of partial erasure items, just because I think there's more risk there and more headache. And I don't think people understand the use that's going on and the danger and lifetime that it's affecting as well.
Do you see with the massive increase of IoT devices, do you have similar issues with data being stored on some of these IoT devices?
Great question. I mean, we saw IoT devices about 3 years ago and said, hey, what's going to happen here? Because back in 2011, mobile devices started flooding the refurbishment market. And that's kind of usually when we get kind of aware of things is on the 3-year life cycle. You know, people aren't erasing their system the day they buy it. It's usually at the end of lease or, you know, the retirement process. So we saw these IoT devices and we said, okay, what's going to happen here? How do we address, you know, is there storage on these IoT devices, from anything from a light bulb to your Alexa to the Google home devices, the Nest thermostat? Is there storage? And if so, how big is that storage? Can you access it? Can you address it? We are working on tools right now to do that. For the most cases, not as simple as booting and erasing it. There's quite a bit of technical kind of not bootlegging, but similar type of scenario in order to get in there and get our software on those devices and get it running. But it's something we haven't seen yet. We are waiting to see where this goes and see kind of what needs to happen, and also if the industry itself will come out with standards and methods for erasing these devices. So I think right now we just say it's under development on our side.
Excellent. And imagine you were talking to the CTO or CIO of a large, a Fortune 500 company, and
Sure.
you know, you just want to give them a soundbite of what they should be aware of in terms of data erasure or data as a liability. What would you say to them?
Technology has gotten to the point now where you can trust software-based data erasure on any device. Any IT asset you have can be addressed and securely erased. So the old methods of physical destruction and other ways of destroying equipment is antiquated, out of date, environmentally unsound. And going forward, it will only get better and more improved and more compatible on different systems. So I'd recommend for all of them to take a look at it, see if it works in their corporation, see how that would kind of solve on their side budgetary issues, as well as provide on their economical or environmental impact report how they're solving and improving this circular economy that's going on and helping the redistribution of these devices rather than shredding and throwing them into landfills.
Yeah, I think the whole sustainability factor must be a huge kind of incentive to adopt, you know, your type of solution versus the old school. Let's take it out and drill a hole in it.
Yeah, hit the hammer, drill it. Yeah. And also, you know, a lot of technology now doesn't apply to drills. SSDs, you have to grind up every chip to the NSA level is like 1/4 of a millimeter in order to get rid of the data on there, make sure it's unrecoverable. So there really is some physical, technological restraints from that even being effective. So luckily, software can address that. It can provide results and help with your sustainability report, you know, as well.
Do you see any changes in the future or related to the data storage mediums that would make your job more challenging?
Not on our side too much. I mean, looking down 10 years, 15 years down the road, maybe there's changes to servers and things like that. I think the movement is going to continue to go to cloud storage and cloud management. And what devices are used on that cloud will be the next step of improving the storage and speed on those devices and how our software can run on those devices as well. I don't think there's going to be major changes on the laptop side or PC side for many years. But you know, I've read some reports of hammer drives and eHammer drives as well. There's an interesting report, I forget where it is, about liquid storage as well for data. There's some interesting things out there. I think they're all probably a decade away from being mainstream, but it will continue to change and have to be addressed when they do.
Excellent. And tell me a little bit about your organization. Like if you've got a customer out there, a potential customer, they want to engage with you, I'm assuming they can go to your website, or do you have people located throughout the country, overseas? I mean, tell me a little bit about your how your operation works.
Sure. We're headquartered here in Salt Lake City, Utah. All of our sales, development, and support's done here in Utah. So we support our U.S. companies directly here Monday through Friday. We also have partners in Europe, Asia, Australia as well. These partners are on-site experts at WhiteDrive, and so they handle the support and other issues in those regions for their time zones. And we are seeing tremendous growth the last 3 years, and we expect with continued focus on data breaches and data erasure, it's going to continue to grow over the next probably 5 to 7 years. We'll see even more growth.
That's excellent. Well, hey, any closing thoughts or comments, projections, announcements that you'd like to make to the listeners?
On our side, we are very excited to kind of solve the remote work issue that's going on. We love kind of modern challenges. Like I said on my sales calls, I love kind of providing a solution to people and how we can do that. One of those that we're doing right now is integration into inventory asset tools, so that on the ITSM side, the IT service management side, we're just one of those products lined up with your inventory asset tool. So now you can run WhiteDrive, it'll save the report to your IT asset in that inventory system and connect it there. And then also some of these inventory asset systems also have silent kill or silent install capabilities, so you can push WhiteDrive out through their system. So what we're trying to do is make WhiteDrive easier to use and also a part of a portfolio of other products is kind of our goal. So we're looking forward to those releases. We'll announce them on our website when they come out, but that's kind of where we're headed.
Sounds exciting. Well, hey, Paul, it's been great talking with you. And, you obviously have some very specialized and important tools, and that are very, very important for security and data protection, and more I guess more not just protection, but data disposal in the appropriate way, right? And more and more data, that means obviously more and more needs for disposal, yep. Right? So, hey, really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on Secure Talk.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Appreciate your time, and let's talk soon.
Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.